Welcome to Branches. My name is Alexis and I'm an amateur genealogist. Every week I discuss all things genealogy. This video, we're going to be finishing the discussion of Ebenezer Brown's life. So without further ado, let's get into it. Where we left off last time in part 2 of this 3-part series was where Ebenezer was called to join the Iron County to go and help out because he was, I guess, good at that sort of thing, setting up a colony there. So let's get started. It seems from reading through the diaries and records of the Iron County Mission that Ebenezer's job was not to settle the area himself, but rather to aid others in establishing a permanent community. He rode south on horseback. He and Isaac Goodell led a group of 20 into the forest to cut timber. John D. Lee, recorder for the group, tells of a wolf that came up to camp. A couple were catching their chickens when the wolf came up within a rod of the women. Ebenezer felled the animal with a rifle. Apparently, Ebenezer's Iron County mission was filled by 1852. In September that year, we find him back in South Willow Creek for the organization of a branch of the church. By then, there were about 20 families on South Willow Creek. William Draper was designated presiding elder of the new branch, with Ebenezer Brown and Zamira Draper as his counselors. Ebenezer's cattle business did well. By 1853, he was a man of enough substance to support an additional wife. That year, he married Elsie Samantha Pulsipher, and the next year he married Mary Elizabeth Wright. In the meantime, he continued his cattle business and branched out activities. His little community began to grow. A school was built, and Phebe became one of the teachers. Indian troubles broke out, and they built a fort. South Willow Creek had its name changed to Draperville in honor of Elder Draper, and it received a post office. In 1854, Ebenezer Brown, still as far as we know illiterate, was appointed the first postmaster. Phebe kept the office in her home in the fort. One might think that in his 50s, Ebenezer was building a settled life for himself and his family. It was not to be so. At April Conference, 1856, 257 missionaries were called. Among them were John Weaver Brown to go to Hawaii, and Ebenezer Brown to go to a settler in Carson Valley, Utah, now Nevada. Father and son left together. Ebenezer, acting as a captain of 50, took Samantha and Mary Elizabeth with him. John accompanied them and reported on their journey. We started early each day between 8 to 9 o'clock and made about 15 miles a day. We were blessed in many ways. Our teams were strengthened and we met with few accidents worthy of notice. The weather was fair except for a few days of wind and bluster. We found feed and water supplies to be fair most of the way. On the 24th of June, 1856, we arrived at Carson and pitched our tents in the Washoe Valley, where a town is located, and a number of saints have taken up farms and commenced improvements. From there, John traveled on to his mission, leaving Ebenezer and Samantha behind unchronicled. The Carson Valley settlers remained for just over a year. In that time, Ebenezer was called as a counselor to President Seth Dustin of the Washoe branch. Samantha had a baby, Samantha Ann. The settlers, under the leadership of Orson Hyde, acquired all the good land and streams in the area and began the organization of the new settlement. Almost the entire stay in Carson Valley was fraught with uncertainty. The political upheaval in the Salt Lake Valley, later known as the Utah War, caused tremors in Carson Valley. Eventually, the settlers received word that Utah had been put under military rule. The settlers did not know whether they should stay or whether they should return home. That's going to be frightening. Finally, on September 5th, 1857, a special messengers from church headquarters arrived. The message was come home immediately. Half expecting such a summons, the pioneers were ready. They quickly picked up their camps and moved back home. Once again in Draper, Ebenezer was at last home to stay. He lived there another 20 years. His prosperity and generosity were attested to by a simple story related by his son, David Pulsipher Brown. When Peter A. Nielsen, a convert from Denmark, came to Draper to live with his family, Father asked him if he had a milk cow. "No," answered Peter. "Well," said Father, "you go in my corral, look over the milk cows, pick out the one you would like, and take her home." Years later, Peter Nielsen's son, Arthur Richard, married Ebenezer's granddaughter, Chloe Samantha, daughter of David Pulsipher Brown, thus joining the family by blood as well as charity. His two young wives' families were still growing, so Ebenezer built a new home for them, while Phoebe remained in the old home in the fort until 1870. On March 29th that year, Mary died, leaving 4 children, one of them an infant. Mary's parents took the baby, and Phoebe moved into the new home to help care for the other children. Ebenezer's health began to fail. He spent one long winter ill. Then, on April 29, 1877, his wife Samantha died, leaving behind 7 children. The youngest, Elijah, was not yet 3. It is evidence of the closeness of the large family that it was now Mary's daughter, Elizabeth, who moved into the family home to help care for the aging father and the motherless children. As Ebenezer's health continued to worsen, records his daughter, Eunice, voiced his one regret to Bishop Stewart. It was his sorrow that now he should have to leave all these children with no one to care for them. He provided for them to stay in the big house together under the care of an administrator, Joshua Terry. Ebenezer Brown died January 26, 1878, after a remarkable long life of service and obedience. He was 75 years old. Ebenezer Brown is my 4th great-grandfather. My 3rd great-grandfather, William Brown, is his son, and through Mary Elizabeth Wright. I hope you guys have enjoyed this series. If you have, leave a comment down below and give this video a like, and don't forget to go watch the other 2 videos as well, because you would be confused if you didn't. But don't forget to subscribe and hit that little notification bell so that you can be notified when new videos go live. I'll see you guys later.